The ascension wasn't just Jesus leaving us behind, but taking humanity into heaven itself. That was the message as St. Anthony of Padua Parish, Boyatown, marked the solemnity of the Ascension Thursday, 14th of May, 2026. Out of Cameroon, a Nigerian court has sentenced former Minister of Power, Saleh Maman, to 75 years in prison after finding him guilty on multiple corruption charges linked to the misappropriation of public funds during his time in office. And in sports, Cameroon under-17 Lions have suffered a disappointing outing, falling 2-0 to Ivory Coast in their opening match of the 2026 Under-17 Africa Cup of Nations in Rabat, Morocco. Details of these stories and more in this newscast. We will be right back. Hello there, you're welcome to today's edition of News Hour on Royal Television. My name is Frida Leina. For presentation today, as we told you in one of our top stories, the Ascension wasn't just leaving us, or wasn't just Jesus leaving us behind, but taking humanity into heaven itself. That was the message as the St. Anthony of Padua Parish, Boyatown, marked the solemnity of the Ascension Thursday on the 14th of May 2026. With song and prayer, the faithful selected on what means to live as resurrection life. Sharon Tita was at the St. Anthony of Padua Parish, Boyatown. She brings us this report in this newscast. Take a watch.
It is with this beautiful musical display that Christians of St. Anthony of Padua Parish, Boyatown, marked the solemnity of the Ascension of Christ. The Eucharistic celebration was officiated by Reverend Father Vincent Meswe and concelebrated by Reverend Father Edward Siani, visiting priest from the Diocese of Manfe. The Mass drew a large turnout of Christians who gathered to commemorate Jesus Christ's ascension into heaven 40 days after Easter. In his homily, Reverend Father Edward Siani emphasized on the biblical accounts of the Ascension and its significance for the faithful. He explains that before Christ ascended, he had conquered sin and death. Through his resurrection, Christ offers new life.
Feast or solemnity of Ascension, Christ ascended. There are three things I draw from there as an individual, which are also reiterated in my own. The first thing is that before an ascension, before Christ ascended, he had conquered sin and death. After conquering sin and death, he resurrected, and his resurrection gave us new life. In other words, if we don't conquer sin, it becomes difficult for us to resurrect, to have new life. It is that new life that gives us all what we take to ascend.
Father Siani also stressed on the importance of cultivating a personal relationship with Christ.
Everybody, Christian or non-Christian, if you have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, if you have that contact with Jesus Christ, and you cooperate with the graces that he gives us freely, rest assured, you will find yourself in heaven. That is your ascension.
The message resonated beyond the sanctuary. Parishioners shared that they were taking home the call to resurrection and renewal from the homily.
In church, Father preached that we should all resurrect and ascend alongside God, knowing God fully well. And if you don't know Christ, you don't belong to Christ, it's so difficult.
Walk together as one. We should show our neighbors the love that we have as a Christian.
The celebration at St. Anthony of Padua Parish was more than a liturgical observance. It was a reminder that the Ascension points Christians towards both hope and responsibility. Christ's ascent into heaven assures believers of their ultimate destiny with God, while his parting commission calls them to live transformed lives, overcoming sin, deepening their relationship with Him, and bearing witness to the power of resurrection in their daily lives.
Sharon Tita ending that report there. Community leaders in Boya have convened to discuss United Nations Security Council Resolutions 1325, holding at the Women Empowerment and the Family Center in Boya. Honorin Cheng says it is a gateway to promoting sustainable peace in communities in Cameroon. Details in the following report.
Community leaders in Boya have come together to brainstorm on United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325 as a gateway to promoting sustainable peace in communities around Boya. While coordinating this workshop, Ateki Stella Dobgima enjoined participants to create a space for dialogue, collaboration, and shared commitment towards peace building and inclusive community development. The two main components of Resolution 1325 are addressing sexual violence in armed conflict and the increasing women's participation in peace processes and political institutions. Resolution 1325 further urges all actors to increase the participation of women and incorporate gender perspectives in all United Nations peace and security efforts. The Women, Peace and Security WPS agenda is often described in terms of 4 pillars as seen in participation and representation, prevention, protection, as well as relief and recovery. It should be recalled that the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325 on women, peace and security was adopted unanimously by the UN Security Council on the 31st of October 2000 after recalling resolutions 1261, 1265, 1296, and 1314. The resolution acknowledged the disproportionate and the unique impact of armed conflict on women and girls. This activity in Boya, which held at the Women's Empowerment and the Family Center, was carried out as part of the ALVF, l'Association de lutte contre la violence faite aux femmes, peace project, sponsored by the European Union through the Women, Peace and Security Consortium in Central Africa. ALVF, known by its English acronym as the Association for the Fight Against Violence Against Women, is a Cameroonian feminist, non-profit and a non-governmental organization founded in 1991 dedicated to eliminating all forms of violence against women and girls in both private and public spheres. Together, these security key actors have vowed to continue to strengthen efforts towards lasting peace and community resilience in Boya in particular and Southwest region as a whole.
In Cameroon, bilingualism is not an option, it is a promise. And this promise, that promise is being reinforced as the head of the National Commission for the Promotion of Bilingualism and Multiculturalism for the Southwest Region. George Ngwane met with the Southwest Regional Delegation of National Security to reinforce ways on how to get the service involved in multiculturalism and bilingualism. Details in the following report.
It was a working session filled with purpose and determination. Mwalimo George Ngwane was warmly received by the Regional Delegate for National Security in the Southwest, Lua Hebga. District heads and senior officers gathered at the main office, ready to engage in exchanges that touch the very heart of Cameroon's unity. Language. The mission of the Bilingualism Commission is simple yet profound, ensuring that French and English, Cameroon's 2 official languages, are used equally across all public services. Mr. Ngwane reminded staff that bilingualism is not an option but a necessity. Every Cameroonian, he stressed, should walk into any government office without fear of a language barrier. Access must be guaranteed in both languages. The officers expressed readiness to embrace bilingualism amidst other challenges. To bridge this gap, the Commission recommended practical steps, commemorating a bilingualism day within the police corps, offering incentives to staff who make efforts to be bilingual, holding meetings alternatively in French and English, stocking bilingual books in public libraries, registering officers at linguistic centers to sharpen their skills, and most importantly, introducing bilingual studies in police training centers so that bilingualism is instilled from the very beginning. According to Section 5 of the National Commission for the Promotion of Bilingualism and Multiculturalism Law, the purpose is clear: to ensure equal use of English and French in public services and to encourage Cameroonians to express themselves freely in both languages. And as the session closed, Mwalimu George Ngwane left the officers with a timeless reminder from Nelson Mandela, and I quote, "If you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. If you talk to him in his language, that goes to his heart." End of quote. From the exchanges in the Southwest, one message rings loud and clear: bilingualism is the bridge to unity, and Cameroon is determined to walk across it.
On to our news, and let's move over to May 20 preparations. Celebrating Unity Day in Cameroon has become more than a right and duty to Camerooners. But the question is, how many people know those symbols that reflect our common being, vision, strength, and progress? Mwamba William takes us through some national symbols that keep Cameroon's unity and strength in the following report. Take a listen.
In a few days, it will be May 20th. We mark National Unity Day. We commemorate 1972 when we chose to move from federation to unitary state, from 2 to 1. But unity is not only written in law, it lives in symbols. We see, we hear, and touch every day. Symbols that carry no tribe, no party, no language, only Cameroon, in 260 ethnic groups standing as one and indivisible. We begin with what flies above us all, the national flag, green for the rich forests of the south and the hope of our people, red for unity and for the blood of martyrs who died for this land, yellow for the savannas of the north and the sun that blesses us all. At the center on the red color is the gold star of unity since 1975. One star, not two. From Womb to Koseri, from Yokaduma to Limbe, we march under one cloth. On May 20th, when that flag is hoisted in every village square, it is not just for fabric, it is a contract. And that contract is sealed by the next symbol, the coat of arms of Cameroon, which is the seal of our unity. At the top sits our national motto on a scroll. In the center, a shield bears the map of Cameroon and the scales of justice, because there is no unity without justice. Behind it, there are two crossed faces that signals the authority of the state that protects us all. Above the shield shines the gold star. Below are two crossed branches. The olive stands for peace, the cocoa for prosperity. On official documents, on court walls, on desk of the president, the coat of arms declares, "This is Cameroon, this is legal, this is one." The same motto on that seal defines how we live as one. The national motto, "Peace, work, fatherland, paix, travail, patrie." Peace, because without it, there is no school, no market, no church, no farm. Work, because we build this nation with our hands, not just our mouth. Fatherland, because Cameroon is not government. Cameroon is home. From far north to southwest, this motto is in every classroom and every constitution. It is not a slogan, it is a duty. A duty we swear to each time we sing. This leads us to the national anthem. O Cameroon, thou cradle of our father, sung in several languages, not only French and English. The anthem is the one song where Anglophones and Francophones stand as one. Land of promise, land of glory. When it plays and as one, Bakweri, Fulbe, Bassa, Bamileke, for few minutes, 260 tongues become one voice. It is not just music, it is our collective oath. And after the oath, we speak in the voice the people created themselves.
Let's get into entertainment now on News Art today, where Cameroon did not just attend Africa's biggest night in film and fashion. It stood tall, bold, and unforgettable on the Africa Magic Viewers' Choice Award red carpet. Shasha Design puts Cameroon on the pedestal of African fashion through her dress titled Force of Nature, in which she used the feathers of the 35 live chickens in the creation process. Sharon Tita took interest in this story and put together the following for News Art today. Take a watch.
At the 12th African Magic Viewers' Choice Awards, Cameroonian designer Sasha Designs put Cameroon firmly on the pedestal of African fashion. Her creation, titled Force of Nature, was one of the most talked about looks of the night. Sasha revealed that the dress was crafted using over 37 live chickens for feather extraction. To her, it wasn't just shock value. She described it as a living masterpiece inspired by life's uncertainties, struggles, and resilience.
Dress the force of nature, which represents the dark side of life, produced with power, protected by the universe, and guided by the realities of life. So the spikes at the edge of this dress represent the difficult moments and the unforeseen circumstances on our way through life. We use live chickens because we want to be able to relate with the universe. Life has a dark side, a place of shadows, uncertainties, and sharp corners.
Each feather symbolizes a stage of life, while the sharp edges of the outfits represented the difficult experiences that shaped lives. The concept sparked mixed reactions online. Some called it controversial, others called it genius. But one thing was clear: people were talking about Cameroon. Sasha Designs is already recognized as one of Cameroon's top fashion houses. At AMVC, she took the reputation global, using fashion as a language to speak about culture, nature, and the Cameroonian spirit. AMVCA is more than an awards show. It is a stage where African designers get visibility and push creative boundaries. And this year, Cameroon had its moment.
Sharon Tita ended that report. We want to take you out of the country now, where a Nigerian court has sentenced former Minister of Power, Salem Maman, to 75 years in prison after finding him guilty on multiple corruption charges linked to the misappropriation of public funds during his time in office. The ruling marks one of the country's toughest sentences in a high-profile anti-grant case. Nanga Sonia has our foreign news.
A Nigerian court on Wednesday sentenced former Power Minister Salem Maman to 75 years in jail for siphoning of millions of dollars from hydroelectricity projects. Nigeria's anti-corruption agency, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, said Maman was found guilty of laundering 33.8 billion naira, approximately $24.6 million. Nigeria is Africa's fourth largest economy and the continent's top oil producer, but it suffers from acute electricity shortages due to a crumbling grid and inadequate output. More than 40% of Nigerians have no access to grid electricity, according to the World Bank. Federal High Court Judge Justice James Omotosho Abuja sentenced Maman to 75 years imprisonment for money laundering. Maman, who was the energy minister between 2019 and 2021, was sentenced in absentia. Nigeria. He is the first minister who served under former President Muhammadu Buhari, who was revered for his anti-corruption stance, to be jailed for graft. Several other top officials from Buhari's government are facing trial for fraud, including a former justice minister, an ex-central bank governor, and a former labor minister. French prosecutors have requested a 7-year prison sentence for former President Nicolas Sarkozy in his appeal trial over allegations that his 2007 presidential campaign received illegal funding from Muammar Gaddafi's Libya, a case that has become one of the most explosive political financial scandals of France's Fifth Republic. After 3 days of what the prosecution described as a fierce closing argument, the Paris General Prosecutor's Office asked the appeals court to impose the same 7-year sentence it sought during the first trial. Sarkozy was previously convicted and handed a 5-year prison term, serving 20 days behind bars before being released pending appeal. Prosecutors portrayed Sarkozy as the principal, the sole beneficiary, and the instigator of an alleged pact with the Libyan regime to secure covert funding for his 2007 campaign. The appeal trial, now nearing its conclusion, is critical for Sarkozy, who insists that not 1 cent of Libyan money entered his campaign or personal finances. A ruling is expected on November 30. If convicted again, his remaining legal recourse would be an appeal to France Court of Cassation. Sarkozy's lawyer, Christopher Ingrid, say the defense will demonstrate the former president's perfect innocence, arguing that no evidence supports the accusation of Libyan financing. The prosecution's case centers on allegations that Sarkozy, then Interior Minister under Jacques Chirac, struck an agreement with Gaddafi to receive illicit funds in exchange for political favors, including examining the judicial situation of Abdallah Senussi, Gaddafi's powerful intelligence chief and brother-in-law. After 2 months of hearings and testimony from 10 defendants, the trial is set to conclude in 2 weeks with final defense arguments. The appeals court will deliver its decision on 30th November, a ruling that could once again send a former French president to prison.
Nanga Sonia ending the sport page, and we now ending the foreign page, ladies and gentlemen. We now talk sports on this newscast. The African sports movement has been thrown into deep mourning following the death of Colonel Hamad Kakaba Maboum, long-serving president of the Cameroon National Olympic and Sports Committee and president of the Confederation of African Athletics. He died at the age of 75 after several years of heading the development of sports in Cameroon. Kosana Claudia Voma has the details in the following report.
The death of Colonel Ahmad Kakaba Maboum has sent shockwaves across Cameroon and the African sporting community. Known for his discipline, leadership and dedication to sports and development, Kakaba was widely respected as one of the most powerful voices in African athletics. Born in Cameroon's far north region, in 1950, he first represented the country as an athlete before later rising through the military ranks to become a senior army officer. His passion for sports eventually pushed him into sports administration, where he built a career that lasted for decades. In 1998, he became president of the Cameroon National Olympic and Sports Committee, helping strengthen Cameroon's presence within the Olympic movement and international sports institutions. His influence later expanded across the continent after he was elected president of the Confederation of African Athletics in 2003. During his leadership, African athletics witnessed growth in continental competitions, athletes development and international representation. Kakaba also worked closely with global sports bodies, including World Athletics and the International Olympic Committee, where he consistently defended African interests and pushed for greater opportunities for African athletes. Tributes have continued to pour in from across Africa following news of his passing. Sports leaders, athletes and government government officials have all praised his contributions to athletics and sports governance. World Athletics President Sebastien Coe described him as a respected leader who served athletics with integrity and commitment, while Cameroonian officials hailed him as a symbol of dedication to national and continental sports. His death leaves a huge vacuum within African athletics and the Olympic movement, where his leadership and influence remain significant for more than 2 decades. For many, Colonel Ahmad Kalkaba Maboum will be remembered as a visionary leader who devoted his life to the advancement of African sports and the empowerment of athletes across the continent. May his soul rest in peace.
Kusana Claudia Voma reporting on the death of Colonel Kalkaba Maboum there. Still in sports, 16 years after the vision was first conceived, the Cameroon Football Federation, FECAFOOT, now boasts of a modern 5-story building headquarters officially inaugurated in Yaoundé yesterday, May 17, 2026. The inauguration ceremony witnessed the presence of top state officials and football stakeholders, as you tell us, Nguni Sonita.
The idea, originally initiated in 2010 by the former FECAFOOT president Iya Mohamed, has finally materialized under the leadership of the current FECAFOOT president Samuel Eto'o, marking a significant milestone in the development of football administration in Cameroon. The inauguration ceremony was presided over by the Prime Minister head of government, representing the President of the Republic. In his address, he described the completion of the structure as a clear demonstration of the government's unwavering commitment to promoting football as a unifying national sport.
The instruction of the head of state once more reflects special attention he accords to Cameroonian sporting movement in general and to football in particular. In this spirit, I am particularly pleased to convey his warm greetings and cordial words of welcome to all the distinguished personalities, sports officials, partners and stakeholders who have traveled to Yaoundé to grace this major event with their presence. We thank you.
Also in attendance was the president of the Confederation of African Football, Dr. Patrice Motsepe, who arrived Cameroon earlier in the day. Speaking during the ceremony, Motsepe underscored the power of football as a tool for unity and development across the continent.
I want to conclude by saying we must all work together. We must all unite. We must also, and that's why I'm saying, Prime Minister, thank you so much for supporting Samuel, all of us. Also say, Prime Minister, when Cameroon won the Olympics, they were not winning it only for the people of Africa, they were winning it for the whole of the continent. It was a moment of pride, very special pride. And Samuel made us very proud. Very, very proud with the rest of the team. I really want to thank the president of UNIFA. Thank you so much, President Celestine. And thank everyone of our presidents, of the member associations. I'm so proud of you. The president of football from Senegal, the president of football from Chad, from Djibouti, from Cote d'Ivoire, from Niger times 2, and all the other presidents. Can we please clap hands for them?
Construct on a 500 square meter site, the state-of-the-art building stands as a symbol of collaboration between the Ministry of Sport and Physical Education and FECAFOOT. In his remarks, Samuel Eto'o commended the minister for his continuous support and dedication to advancing the nation's football infrastructure. Present at the ceremony were former Cameroonian footballers and African football legends, including J.J. Okocha, alongside several other distinguished personalities who traveled from far and near to witness the historic inauguration. The commissioning of the new FECAFOOT headquarters not only fulfills a long-standing vision, but also sets the stage for a more professional and modern management of football in Cameroon, reinforcing the country's position as a powerhouse in African football.
And still in sports, Cameroon under-17 Lions have suffered a disappointing outing, falling 2-0 to Ivory Coast in their opening match of the 2026 under-17 Africa Cup of Nations in Rabat, Morocco. Once more, Sonita Ngoyi.
The match played at the Mohamed V Sports Complex marked a worrying start for the under-17 Lions of Cameroon, extending their winless run at the under-17 African Cup of Nations to 7 years since lifting the trophy in 2019. Since returning to the competition in 2023, the under-17 Lions of Cameroon have struggled significantly, recording just 1 draw and 5 defeats in 6 matches, a clear indication of a declined fortune at the continental level. After a goalless first half, Cameroon appeared poised to take control, especially when Ivory Coast was reduced to 10 men. However, the young Lions failed to capitalize on numerous advantages and instead collapsed within 5 minutes. Angers Namen broke the deadlock at the 52nd minute of play, while Hubert Nyon doubled the lead at the 57th minute, pushing Ivory Coast to take the lead. Despite enjoying greater possessions and having an extra player for considerable periods, Cameroon lacked creativity, urgency and composure in the final third. Failure to respond swiftly could see Cameroon's campaign unravel prematurely, further deepening concerns over the country's performance at young level. The under-17 Lions of Cameroon will face Uganda on May 16, 2026.
The Ascension Day was not just Jesus leaving us behind, but taking humanity into heaven itself. That was the message at the St. Anthony of Padua Parish, Boyatown, as they marked the solemnity of the Ascension of Thursday, 14th of May, 2026. Out of Cameroon, we told you that a Nigerian court has sentenced former Minister of Power, Salah Maman, to 75 years in prison after finding him guilty of multiple corruption charges linked to the misappropriation of public funds during his time in office. And in sports, Cameroon under-17 Lions have suffered a disappointing outing, falling 2-0 to Ivory Coast in their opening match of the 2026 under-17 Africa Cup of Nations in Rabat, Morocco. Thank you so much, lovers of Royal Television, viewers of News Hour. It was an amazing time with you all. See you tomorrow, same time, same channel, for another edition of News Hour. Bye-bye.
Allah says, you want to enter through your actions? Fine.